Okay, in this tutorial we're going to take another look at having an object follow a path, or this circle, but in particular we're going to use a camera instead to follow around, because if you've seen my tutorial under my Blender modifiers playlist under curve modifiers versus curve follow, you can't use the curve modifiers with a camera, and it simply won't work. You can see there's no option, there's no modifier option here when you have the camera selected. So the reason we're doing this is so normally when you evaluate an object around a path, it always starts at frame 0, but we want to change it so it starts somewhere else. So let's just select the circle now. Whoops, we'll get the camera, shift, select the circle, and we'll parent it like usual, and we'll follow the path. And so if we go, let's select the curve and go into this curve button up here, and you can see it's going to evaluate it over 100 frames like this. So I'm going to press Alt A, and when it gets to 0, it's going to go around, and at 100 frames it's come all the way around the circle. So I'll set this to 100 like that, so it'll just go around the circle over and over like this. But I don't want it to start perhaps at frame 0 down here. Here's its location where it's trying to start, is right there, but maybe I don't want to start it till it's at frame 20 like this. Well, you can't, there's no direct way to do it, but well, you can do it by setting an evaluation time like this. Here at frame 20 I can change this, I could try and change this to 0 and say started at 0, but it's not going to work. If I press I and keyframe it by hovering over here, it gives me this error. So what you have to do is you go grab another window first and get the graph editor, and then you can see here's the evaluation curve set up, but you can't select it like a regular keyframe curve. So what we're going to do is we'll come over here to the channel button, and we're going to delete the channel so it gets rid of that. Alright, so now I don't need the graph editor anymore, but we'll come back to it maybe in a minute. So now we're still evaluating it over 100 frames like this, and we can change that to how many frames you want. But now what we can do is I have my markers set at frame 20 like this, and now my evaluation time is set at 0. So now I can keyframe this and press I, and now it's set 0. So now maybe I'll go to frame 80 up in here, and my evaluation time is maybe 100. And I'll keyframe that with I. Okay, now when I come back over to here, it starts here, and I press Alt A, and notice the camera doesn't start until frame 20 instead of at frame 0. So I've essentially set a keyframe, but I had to delete that channel. Let's go look. So now I have an actual keyframe set, and then you can move this like a regular keyframe. You can see it's moving pretty fast, so you could just change it within here if you don't want it to be that fast. Or you could, this is essentially a percentage value here, so let's see. So what we could do is up here at this keyframe, up arrow to this keyframe like that. Maybe I want to evaluate it over, say, 80 frames, and I'll press I here, and now when I run the animation, it starts at 20, oh, and then it finishes at 80. I like that. So wait a second, frames 100. It evaluates it. Well, you're going to have to kind of adjust the time. You could either adjust the timing in there, but the easier way, once you have the keyframe set up, is just to come into the graph editor like that, and then you can right click anything and press, say, GX, and I could move it along like this, maybe evaluate it over 150 frames. Have to change this, move that up to 150 at least, or 160. So there, it takes longer. Or if you wanted to just move it over 100 frames, I could move this back to, 100, approximately 100 right there. But then maybe I could press GY, and maybe don't. And if I do it that case, then it's not going to move all the way like that. Alright, so it depends, or if I want to move it up GY, I can move it even higher. because essentially we're changing it over here over 100 frames like this. Like that. Well, I think that kind of gives you an idea, but the key is, making sure you delete that channel first, and then you can come in and set your keyframes like that. All right, well, that's it for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next lesson.